Friends, I greet you. I am still with you, Sergey Puzanov, which means another series for connoisseurs, bottom fishing lovers. Today I arrived at the Moscow River location, which I haven't been to for about 3 years. Long forgotten history. Let's see what kind of fish there is here today. Most often here, white-eye bream were caught earlier, but quite capricious. Having checked the map, depth of the reservoir. No need, the most important thing is not to forget that when you check the depth map how I got there yesterday. Don't think that the depth map shows you the ideal depth because as you can see, in the Moscow River this is the situation. This is what is called the winter level. That is, in summer the water is here, and accordingly when I chose the depth there is 6 meters I arrive. It's just 230 there. That's why I chose a specific hole today, it's local. 9 meters well minus somewhere 230 somewhere around 6-7 there should be. Well, as you can see, winter is like this. That's why I think the fish has some kind of the state of activity must be, because everything should resemble this awesome cool spring. Let's see what the fish thinks about this. Let's go. I prepared the bait mix accordingly to the condition. I haven't said it straight away yet. There is a current here. The current shouldn't scare us too much. For one simple reason. In the pit, there is no stream as such at all. The main movement of water occurs in the upper part. Fish big There is no point in wasting your energy on the flow all day. She sinks into the pits, where probably during all this time already, for quotes winter period everything has already been eaten. That's why, the brighter the weather is today the cloudier, the more chances that there will be fish in the hole. I found it in the example. The depth there is about 530. In the end it turned out to be a sludge structure. This speaks to that the current is absolutely definitely flying overhead. The silt structure is not blurred. Further along the road I begin to emerge little by little from the hole. And the structure is already more rigid. Some pebbles, shells are found and so on. Not reaching the coastline somewhere, about 20 meters. It just starts to be a steep climb. That is, this is the entrance to the pit. From the coastline, the current blows accordingly. From left to right, that is, we are sitting practically at the entrance. Into the hole, that is, it is such a cliff. And then she carefully, there will already be a way out of the hole. So here is the main goal to try the hole. And accordingly this sharp rise. There's someone behind him. At a distance you will have to retreat, because it's hard to fight such a wall. We'll definitely have to. The feeders are heavy. In order to drive to such a depth, well, one way or another, the feeder of course lies there on the bottom without a current, and the pressure of the jet is applied to the cord. The main thing is that all this is held together. I have the composition right away with the additive bait called Current Grand Series, which will definitely lie at the bottom. Dead weight, won't go anywhere. The steel part of the bait is more of an aromatic additive. Black bream, which bream loves Moskvoretsky. It has been proven for more than 1 year, or in winter and summer, it will be the main romantic addition to chocolate. Who is really steering the needle in cold water this season? And on the Moscow River, humidification was also added. It's made really well, so that nothing lifts at all. There was no dust and so on. We'll try to catch it. Some correspondingly larger fish there, than to cut these white-eyed ones there. Full garden, let's see what will prevail. Well, the main accents are as follows. I chose the forms today specifically for the conditions. These are 2 new items 25. Which will appear at the exhibition at the end of February. This is Elegance in 2. In 1-2 series. And in height 4 and 2 with dough up to 140 grams. I think today these forms are in full swing. Perfect fit to this location. It's also important to me. Understand what is the difference between these 2 series in 1 and 2. Let's see what it is. Because I saw the pre-series as if. Well, let's see what happens in the end. Their ring map is almost the same. The difference is in the fittings, but the system is not clear yet. Well, let's start chasing food. The first hour of our battle took place in the format of selection. Live component supply. I fed 2 distances. The nearest and, accordingly, the pit itself. At long range, for the first 15 minutes there was not a single response from the fish. Moved to the near. Literally from the second cast the fish immediately responds. Well, what's the point of picking around on the business, when the fish signals to us that it is much closer, and accordingly it is more comfortable to fish. Here's another one. Boy. Who is this bream among us? White-eyed for some reason. This year there are few. Well, while the selection was taking place, a supply of live component. At the start I immediately started feeding myself with cuttings of maggots. I added a little bloodworm there. 2 components fish. Aaliyah herself will choose what she likes, because according to the species composition of the white eye, of course he prefers maggots. Both cut and alive. And the bream is a bloodworm. That's why it was unclear, in what quantity do they predominate here. Starting feeding at all 0.7-5 feeders, with cut component, and accordingly the responses became closer. Yes, 3-4 fish were caught. After which I realized that bream still prevails. What did I cut the bloodworm with it? I also caught 1 bream, and then just some hellish series. Or she, but he with top simply from little to great yorsh. Bites almost immediately after the feeder lands on the water. The leash lies there for 20 to 30 seconds. Here are these and it's already hanging there. Accordingly, no bream will be able to approach. We'll dig around, because now I have removed all the living components from the bucket. We will wait for this almighty master of the reservoirs. We'll lag behind the point, or Belle is somehow more on her. There will be serious concentration there. Most often this procedure occurs in the following format. That this rough simply has no business being there. There is nothing to eat and he is an active boy, constantly swims in the reservoir. Pike perch's favorite food. He'll definitely leave, and then it will be possible. Belle will come and carefully work on the living component. Add the moth little by little. And try to sit on a separate cutting support try to collect white eye, but everything will be so detailed that don't collect the baskets again. Of course it's also a fish, but not our format. Not that kind of code as they say. Let's move on. Oh look, it's flying. You won't. About. What are you going to do? A. Imagine. Imagine how awesome it will be. Imagine the big one didn't become small, started to rumble. If this fish thought, what can she do to us? To mock for so long. She was damn right. The second hour bears fruit. We selected the length of the leash, because meter 20 turned out to be a bit long. This mega rough was hanging. And there is no sign of a bite, and in fact it's a waste of time. It's been hanging there for 3 minutes already, and I'm still sitting there waiting for someone by the thickness of the leash. The fish is not capricious at all. At first, of course, it seemed that this was exactly it, and in the diameter of the leash, because there were some pokes, which did not continue in any way. In fact, it was a rough. That's why the modest man didn't. In size 113 the leash is 8 centimeters. Everything became good. Hooks. I started off right away from the small one, which is essentially a mistake. You have to start big. When the fish is already capricious, it's already possible to decrease. Started small, constant bites, and showed that these pokes are somehow not quite right. It is better to implement with large hooks. I put the 5th size there for the plaster from the format, nothing. It just became clear right there from the first cast that it doesn't fit and they didn't even lick it. You can't even see what you're poking there. Presentation when leash, it's not the same that's falling anymore. I didn't mess around for long. Classic of the genre. Grandfeeder in the 3rd series classic bream fishing. As always helps out. Quickly put the choke modal's leash on. Implementation and all these touches at once. Fish get a sting due to a wide bend, and immediately the bites are so full-fledged and cool, so on and so forth. The bend of the top is complete. Here's another one right now, here in this length with a hook, as if everything would shine further. I have a colleague sitting here, also removed the live component, but for some reason one works for him. 2 moth works for me right away, it's a good bunch. From bloodworms. I don't know the order there. 5. 7 moths, everything is cool. The white-eyed one comes, appears. 2, 3 fish. Standard size even for 3 years ago. It's like they haven't grown at all. Maybe they have some kind of kindergarten here. But they didn't get any bigger. But a rascal. This year it's just a standard starling. In dominance and even here. Who is our next bream? That is, the white-eyed one is still somehow. Is getting smaller, and not enlarge, and in general, in my opinion, this point is already leaving. These are such beauties, standard Moskvoretsky. I'm getting a good bite now. As a result, we are sitting in this format for now. We get pleasure from fishing, as they say. Everything bites, everything works, but from time to time there are such clicks. They're just pecked minutes. On 5-7 just bang and everything turns off. It is not clear what this is connected with. Perhaps the predator swims to the point because in this water area, this is just one of the only holes where at all. To the predator and to the fish like the bottom. You can hide in general with a cure and so on. If the sun shone today, I think this hole would just be full of fish. Just jam-packed, but since it's cloudy, even for a predator, pike, perch and so on, all run in the depths there in 3-4 meters is quite acceptable, but these shutdowns happen periodically, which were resolved fast enough. If it's a predator, then decorum is just 3 feeders with food and live component, bam 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 bam, and then you sit down. Bell bites right away. Here, as they say too. Path. First is this. We're just from the point. Exploding food in the tier there. And I shake it out in the thickness. We just chase away the predator. Such. He definitely doesn't like friction with food. It all flies into the eyes. He goes with the flow. Or we just fish, which has already eaten its fill and risen above the bottom. We just leave it out. In fact, if the point is reached, it stalls. Such additional feeding is done and the fish is activated again, so the second hour compensated for the first. And the second one is doing full footy, they fell behind. So with a live component very carefully, I work in detail. Yes, I have it in volume, but better save it for next time. And this is what happens when you start being too clever when fishing. Another toilet brush speaks about that you can't indulge in aroma too much. Yes, the water is warm, not winter-like, and on the third part, I decided to experiment with flavors. Of course so. Don't make any drastic adjustments right away and don't scare the fish. I tried soft aromas. Chocolate. Chocolate, it's neither hot nor cold, because I had it filled up right away. Contains syrup. With chocolate flavoring. As if chocolate would never do any harm to your bait. As I often say, chocolate and vanilla. These are the fisherman's friends. In any water, even ice cold. even hot and so on. At least they won't ruin anything. Then I experimented with biscuits, which the Moscow River bream loves so much, which led to this result. Some roughs came running again. Who doesn't care at all about the aroma? And the bream moved aside, and the bites are gradually rolling off. Well, this is literally the last 15 minutes. Worked harder than everyone else. Scopics, long forgotten by everyone. Which was forgotten probably 7 to 8 years old, various brands. And accordingly that same high-quality English. This is Rudakins, which at one time was simply poured, just some hellish quantities in the bait. Although I don't know it's designed for 20 kilograms of boilies. Probably because the concentration is very powerful, and this soft creamy aroma. According to the classics, it works well now. Also now we are coming to the conclusion that, after all, chocolate is not the same as chocolate in aromas. There is chocolate, it is dark chocolate. There is chocolate, it is creamy chocolate. Here's probably something like this, mix it with chocolate. I will definitely try this on my next fishing trip. Just pour from 2 bottles, mix and try to sit on this aroma. Or mix the bait. I think it will bring results. That is, a soft, sweetish aroma. Forever on the Moscow River. In this Xena. And I think we've already caught a fair amount. Had a great time biting bream. Yes, they are not simple. That is, there was no sausage all day. I want to catch as much as I can fit there and so on. There was no such thing, so we poked around, sorted it out. We picked up some keys and nuances. Had fun. The most important. I have rolled out all 2 forms. Today I am already making some conclusions. I know everyone is waiting for full reviews. And most importantly, since recently, comparative reviews. Everyone is waiting because there is an exhibition ahead and everyone wants. At the exhibition you can already directly purchase these forms. Today so far from the nuances that I managed to identify. This is in episode 1. As you can see the handle is entirely made of neoprene. For most anglers this is great, that you can rub it there with sponges, washcloths and so on. On the second insert made of cork. The coil holder here is the usual standard one, inexpensive, probably even cheap. And on the second series which is initially more expensive. And there is already a real holder on it. With a locking nut additional it. Comfortable to grip. When you grab it, it's like it's right in your hand, I don't know. Repeats. And that's all. Wow, what a thing, yes, and the sensitivity is still too. It will probably be cooler. It was still very noticeable at a long distance. In 2 blanks clearly. The top third one will be softer than U1. Here everyone will choose for themselves. If you work on a reservoir with distant boundaries, I would consider it in 2. If it's a river and the wind is breaking through I would consider it 1. But for now let's talk. It's too early to go into detail about this. This is only the 3rd or 4th fishing trip with these forms. And my viewer always knows that I don't jump to conclusions. Fully. I test the blank on different bodies of water with different fish, after which I make certain conclusions. Why do you all respect me? Look and absolutely trust in the choice of forms. But we will probably finish on this beauty. We don't need to store fish. Fish is not our food, and my friend, we will definitely let her go in the end. Let's see what we managed to catch. Well, something. It tells me. The 4th hour of fishing was in vain. It's still too much. But when the fish bite, not a single normal fisherman can stop. So I tried to somehow slow myself down. Yes. My back, hold on. Oh my God. Well, in short, these are the kids. Something around 10 for sure. Mother. But in the main mass increasingly would still podleshiki. The white eye as a species is apparently disappearing. I hope that only from this water area. But nevertheless bream Moscow River Moscow region. This is what winter is like. Puzanov Sergey. A huge amount of fish. Do as we do. Catch better than us and be on the water more often. Because the day of fishing in almost life does not go yet.